Bingo introduces Live Football Bingo, where events in every English Premier League game can win you prizes for a £1 card. And the fastest full house of the season is worth £20,000. Head to matchbingo.co.uk for more information. Over 18s only. Be gamble aware. Get yourself over to matchbingo.co.uk for more information. Hola amigos, and you are my amigos. Welcome to Summer's Talking Town. I might try and do a hello in all different languages through the summer. Then again, I probably won't. I'm the Gov. Thank you for joining me, whether you're joining me live or on catch up. We value you joining us, so thank you ever so much. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're brand new to the channel. We'll try and run throughout the whole summer, and tonight's show is a part one, if you like, of a 4-part series where we're going to be doing some squad planning of our own. And this is where we really use the Talking Town hive mind. So we value you incredibly more so this evening if we didn't value enough already, because everyone knows the Gov's football knowledge is, outside of the IP1 postcode, it's not the best. So I do need your help this evening as we look at our defenders and our goalkeepers. We'll assess who stays, who goes, and of course look at the loan players returning and the loan players we have here that belong to other people. And what should we do with them? Then on Sunday at the Talking Town Hard Truth, we'll have a look, assess the work, give us their take, and the next Wednesday we'll look at the attackers and the midfielders. 455 central midfield players. I joke, but it is a lot. It might need longer next week than this week just to go through the central midfield players. But if you're watching on catch up, don't feel like you can't get involved. Please do leave comments in our YouTube section. Let us know if you think we're on the right lines, of who we're letting go, who we're keeping, who you'd bring in. I'm just going to throw a name out there now. Aaron Cashin. It might be the first time you hear it. Might be the last time. Okay, scrap that. It won't be the last time you hear the name Aaron Cashin from me all summer long. But I will continue to bang that drum. Got a couple of comments coming in already from Adi. Welcome, Adi. Hope you're well. And Sharon is also here. Welcome, Sharon. She is watching the Borough Coventry game. I will try and keep you up to date with the scores on the doors as we progress through the evening. It's 0-0 currently in the Borough Coventry game. And in obviously the Champions League affair, it is 1-0 Manchester City, 2-1 on aggregate. Do drop the scores in the chat if you want to keep us up to date. I'll do my best, but I can't promise you. Andy's got a nasty bug. Been in bed the day. Andy, I hope you get well soon, my friend. Yeah, plenty of fluids. Sending all the power to you. And I hear the GOAT is not too good. GOAT, we're thinking of you. We love you. Looking forward to hearing your dulcet tones on Talking Town very soon. Paul Smith, good evening, Gov, and all Super Blue fans. Bluey's here as well. Love it. Samuel says, Upper Town, Sunderland away next year. Messy weekend. I'm not going to lie to you, Samuel. I was a little bit upset yesterday that Sunderland didn't progress to the playoff final. Big fan of Tony Mowbray. I think he deserves every success in the world. Can't believe the reports today that he's possibly, facing the sack. Madness, although another team in limbo next year, or transition certainly with a new manager, could benefit Town. But more importantly, from a personal and a selfish point of view, Sunderland, the last time I looked at a map, is a lot further away than Luton. So I purely wanted Sunderland or Borough in the playoff final. So we lost one of those, and we still had Coventry and Luton away days next year. We may well still have that. Who knows? The results tonight involving Borough and Coventry will tell us more. Right, like, subscribe. Let's bring in the contributor joining me this evening to go through our defenders and attackers. It is the designer, George Nunn.
I wouldn't be surprised either way.
How are you, my friend? Are you well?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Good, man. We've just been talking about the playoffs off air and our sort of lack of interest away from things involving Town or affecting Town. Sunderland next year. Samuel's already buzzing for the messy weekend. Mowbray reports today sort of fearing for his job or facing the sack. What are your thoughts on that?
That's bonkers.
Madness, isn't it, right?
He's sacking him because he lost one game of football.
Surely they're ahead of the curve. I mean, I suppose it lends itself into the conversation about Ipswich Town and I'm not saying if we don't go up next year, so Kieran McKenna's facing the sack. That's not what I'm saying.
That's equivalent. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah,
out of League One and failing to get promoted out of the Championship, like that's some impatient ownership.
Yeah, Is it more impatient than with Ipswich Town? Because I spoke to a Plymouth fan at the weekend. He expects us to challenge the top 6 for our squad already. Many Town fans do. So finishing inside the top 6 next year might not come as a surprise to many Town fans, but I'm sure to Sunderland fans, a top 6 finish this year was almost out of reach. They would have felt this time last year.
Yeah, I would have thought so. I mean, how much of this is Sunderland fans clamouring for Mowbray to get the boot, and how much of it is just whispers from inside the club or just made up journalism?
Well, this is it. It is the season for the journalism, dartboard. I like to call it the dartboard. Where they take a dart, club, right, borough, player.
Exactly.
Sylvain makes blank.
it would seem a little rash to fire Mowbray based off of what has been a pretty phenomenal season by all accounts in terms of I know they've got backing. Financial wise, but like you say, would we be disappointed with a top 6 finish? Like, I'm not expecting it, but it would be great if we could be challenging for top 6 next season. But if we don't, and we fired McKenna off of the back of it, if we got anywhere near, then that would be crazy. But
yeah, no, I agree. AD does ask in the chat, and we do welcome the questions. If you do want to put a question in, we'll certainly use it for a talking point. So please do. Something you want to mention about your football club, do get it in. AD says, do you think Town could do a Sunderland this time next season?
Yeah, I think it's perfectly possible. Yeah. I see nothing about our football and the way that our football club is moving forward to suggest that it's out of our reach. Like I said, I have no expectations of doing it.
No,
I wouldn't be throwing my toys out the pram if we don't. But
some would.
Well, I mean, obviously, there's a long way between now and then. If we have a garbage season, then let's have a different conversation about it. But there's no reason to think that we would, based on, as I say, the progress that we've been making over the last 12 or 18 months. So, there's absolutely no reason to think that we couldn't emulate Sunderland or potentially go on further based on yesterday.
Absolutely. We mentioned garbage there. You mentioned knee-jerk reactions. And no way am I saying these two things are linked to this, but IFollow ending with Ipswich Town this month. Town TV expected to come in, final payments being taken, etc. Are you excited to see the launch of that? Are you excited to see what they're going to bring? Because I suppose content-wise I am, because I'm eager to see what they sort of
Yeah, I think it's an overhaul, because is the website not provided by IFollow too?
Very good question. I'm on it right now, looking at the attackers and defenders.
I feel like it might have been a packaging, but I might be making it up. But
it's certainly a cookie cutter website, in the sense that all the clubs have the same, and it very much could be. I mean, you've got IFollow support chat bar down the bottom there.
I don't know, but it's a I'm super interested to see. I'm expecting it to be a minimum viable product of a station to start with, which will be to emulate as close as they can IFollow, but hopefully slightly more reliable, and then they'll build on it, and over time it will become more of a 24/7
365 MUTV
a channel, which will be great, and with Mr. Warren moving over in that general direction, signs are positive, and I think they'll bring more people on as the seasons progress. I think it's exciting. It could be great. I'm interested, as we were saying before the show, I'm interested to see who it is that's going to be providing it, because it doesn't seem like, I've not seen a slew of digital roles appearing at the club. It's the sort of thing I'm out for, and so I assume it's still a third party, but we'll see.
And my phone certainly hasn't rung for any hosting gigs, so I assume they've obviously filled that with somebody that's not very good. But anyway, moving on shortly. As Sean does say, we'll still follow you, Gov. Cheers, Sean. Appreciate that, my man. Darren says, next season, who would you play? So how with the same team? Good question, Darren. We'll go to the goalkeepers and defenders in a moment. Now, Connor Chaplin has been nominated for the PFA Virtue Fans Nominations Player of the Year. It's an event next Tuesday in Manchester. I'll be going along on behalf of Talking Town. I'm bringing my trusty little sidekick, Richard Moss, with me. Hey, it's a networking event as well as anything else. And when there's networking to be done, you know who your strongest players are. And Rich is like the Pied Piper, and I love him to pieces. And I heard of there's some sort of games involved, like football games, and I can't be doing that. So I thought, who amongst us can do it? Now, last year, George, I went to Manchester when Wes Burns was nominated. Okay, we just finished 9th or 10th. The brain blocks out painful memories. And I had sort of 60 seconds or so to really convince the panel and the fans watching in attendance why Wes Burns should be the Virtue Player of the Year. Which, as you can imagine, when you've got a Wigan fan sat to my right, you know, and Sunderland fan sat to his right, and you've got all these great players on these great goals, I felt a little bit, you know, like I was, well, I shouldn't really be sat here trying to convince Wes Burns is Player of the Year, much as I love Wes Burns over.
Yeah, he had an excellent season for us, didn't he? And
that finished 9th.
Yeah.
But so I'm feeling this year should be a little bit easier, right?
Yes. Kind of writes itself for you this year. If he doesn't win, it's probably going to be your fault.
Well, unless I nominate Rich to do that part. But one of the overriding memories of last year, this is a true story. I was stood to the Wigan fan, talking to the Wigan fan, and this podcast from the this podcast came over, and they said, "Are you the Wigan fan?" And I said, "No, I'm the Town fan." He went, "Oh, so you were the Wigan fan?" Turned his back to me, and went, "Maybe we'll talk to you in a year or two." And then started to network with this Wigan fan, and I just felt like that big.
Oh, now you can hunt him out.
Oh, I'm going to hunt him out, and I'm going to say, "I'll stop you right there. I'm not going to talk to you. I don't want to know what you're selling, what you're promoting, because you don't know." It's not stuck with me for a year, but I'm gonna put a minute on the clock, like they do for us at the fans events, and I want you to sell.
You know, I love it when you spring stuff.
I know you do, Georgie. That's why I sometimes don't tell you the most juiciest of bits.
I feel my internet connection going down.
You said it'd be easy. So those words from me were a green light to proceed with this unmentioned agenda item. Just got to sell Connor Chaplin, baby. Why should Connor Chaplin be Player of the Year? Go.
I mean, it's not going to take a minute. He was done a disservice by not winning the Player of the Season, and what else does he need to do? Like, I don't even know and or care who he's up against. To be honest with you, who is he up against?
That's a great question. I will find out in just a moment, because I'm with you, and you didn't in a minute.
Honestly, I'm not going to give it any sort of elevated pitch because I'm not prepared for it. But like, I just think it's a.
That's great. That was great.
As far as I'm concerned, it's a no-brainer. Like, it's just like I would be amazed if anyone can show me a better player from this.
There you go. You just needed 20 seconds, and I'm with you. That literally will be my pitch. And the nominations are Alfie May at Cheltenham, Aaron Collins at Bristol Rovers, David McGoldrick at Derby County, Johnson Clark Harris at Peterborough United, and Finn Azaz at Plymouth Argyle. Like, no disrespect to any of them, they're not Connor Chaplin, baby.
The thing about Chaplin, he doesn't just bring goals to the team, and this year he's brought a shitload of goals to the team. Yeah.
Another segue. Let's talk about a shitload of goals. Joe Pigott on loan at Portsmouth. Portsmouth manager saying they would like to keep.
Yeah.
Well, they'd like to keep Joe. Not be a 46-game player, but they'd like to keep Joe. Is his time at Town over?
I think his time at Town was over
the moment he signed.
I just don't think he ever really, for whatever reason, it never really seemed to work for him. Whether he didn't fit into the squad or whether his style didn't fit into anyone's style, then good luck to him. If they, he's obviously done enough to impress them this season. So, good luck to him. If he's happy down there and they want to keep him, then that seems perfect.
Yeah, yeah. Nominal fee? What sort of? We got like between 10 and 50 grand for Aaron Drinan. So
yeah, I mean, I guess Ashton probably isn't the sort that would just let someone go just for the sake of letting them go. But yeah, it will be nominal. I would have thought.
Yeah, 50 grand. Yeah, I'd take 50 grand.
Yeah, something, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Ben Connor Chapman's goals and brings others into play. He has really brought into the community side of things. He's not really missed a game through injury, and it's just
that's a really good point. The community, you can't overlook the community stuff. In his role within the foundation and things. He's just, that's a super good point. Make sure you mention it.
I will. I've just written it down. It's a great point. I'd kind of neglected that. Mel J says, I read ITFC are creating the website in-house, but getting in partners to create it. So interesting. Yeah. Interesting. All right, there we go. That's all the sort of summer news items that you've got to look forward to. On to goalkeepers and defenders, including loan players, and what we want to do with them, how we would sort of shape the squad as we go into the championship. Again, through this, we welcome your comments, whether it's live in the live chat, or if you're watching on catch up, do put a comment in the comment section. I'll read them all, and I'll try and get to them. Certainly we'll try and reply to them all as I can. We'll be using the ITFC website for this. So there are your 4 goalkeepers. We've already had 1 goalkeeper signed, just for your information. Obviously, Henry Gray, a New Zealand goalkeeper, 18 years of age, has signed for the Super Blues. Gray won the Golden Glove Award at the 2022 Oceania Football Confederation. So, he's got some pedigree about him. There are your 4 goalkeepers: Christian Walton, Joel Coleman, Vaclav Hladky, and Nick Hayes. What do we do with the 4 goalkeepers? I'm sort of going to remove Christian Walton to one side, because I'm going to assume you're not going to sell him.
No. Walton's. There's no reason for Walton not to be our number 1. Sorry, I'm just opening my office door.
No, you're absolutely. You can do it like. So you've got Joel Coleman, Hladky. I mean, he's 32. Do you think he'll want to? Do you think he'll be looking to move away and play?
I would be surprised if he wasn't, but if he isn't, I would happily keep him. If he's happy to continue to be the backup, then I think he's an ideal backup.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that he comes from Salford, and he's probably on more money than he was at Salford. So he's on, what I would assume is good money. He's 32, and he's 1 injury away from being a championship goalkeeper, and 1 injury away might be a severe injury. Goalkeeper, you only got 1 position.
Yeah,
from being a chance to. I'm going to say he would probably want to stay. He'd probably want to stay, fight for the shirt, and take the opportunity if it ever was to come.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree. I think I'd happily keep hold of him if he's not looking desperately to move, but I wouldn't hold it against him if he was looking to go and be a number 1. Go and be a number 1. And I think with the new kid and Nick Hayes, that's 4's enough. I think did Coleman sign on for the season?
He did.
I can't imagine that he would be renewed again. I don't think we need 5.
No,
keepers in and around that sort of age. The New Zealand kid is obviously young, but
he's got some pedigree about him. So
at an age where he becomes number 4 and Hayes moves up to be.
So if Hladky goes, and he may well go and wouldn't begrudge him and move the same as yourself. So if in a world where you've got Walton and then Hayes and Gray, is that your 3 you're taking into the championship? You're not looking.
No, I think we look for a number 2. I mean, I don't know enough about Nick Hayes, to be fair to him, but I think we'd probably be looking for a backup keeper.
Are you going a younger backup? Are you going a more experienced, like a Lee Bracey, Mike Salmon type backup?
I think we've probably got that in Joel Coleman, right? He feels like the kind of
8.95, not that old.
Backup, but
yeah. All right.
Number
2, you're bringing in.
I guess a similar sort of age, that sort of late 20s, just a good age for a goalkeeper. I think if you're going to go for a young one, we've got Nick Hayes and the Kiwi. So, yeah, I'd probably look for similar sort of age to Bolton. Really, just a good solid backup.
I'll write that down. Fisherman midweek on Twitter. I see Fisherman in the chat. He floated the option of signing or going after a goalkeeper such as Cooper at Plymouth to compete with Walton and really push Christian, possibly edge Christian out eventually, if not straight away. Is that something you would consider doing? Are you really sort of dug in with Christian as your number one goalkeeper that you really are not looking at any other option to really replace him?
I think he is our number one, but I guess maybe I see the point, and I think that's why I'd go for a similar aged number two. I think when you have a number one and your number two is 35 years old or 17, then it's almost you're almost not giving yourself the same sort of competition that you have for other positions. And I get that as a goalkeeper, it's less likely that you're going to edge a teammate out. And possibly less likely that they're going to get an injury that lets you into the team. But I don't think that's any reason not to have two good quality goalkeepers. I think the issue with that is probably that you've got to find a good quality goalkeeper who's happy to not,
because one's got to sit on the bench. It's not like a striker where you could probably perhaps change the formation to accommodate it. One has got to, which is why I guess you normally get younger goalkeepers as number two, or your real other end of the spectrum where it's a 33, 34, 35. Got a couple of years, still can do a job. A bit like a Richard Keogh, I guess. Can still do a job at a pinch, but isn't looking to play that week in, week out role. Okay, that's your goalkeepers. Get some comments in if you agree with what you've heard. If you've got other ideas, defenders. We'll start with the right backs: Harry Clark, Janoy Donasian, Kane, Vincent Young. What are you doing with the three right backs there, George? What you thinking? You keeping all three? Are you getting rid of one, two? Because you bring in a right back. What's you thinking in the right back position?
It's so tricky, isn't it? Because I think on paper, I'm almost happy with that. I really like him as young. He's just never quite been consistent.
Injuries have hurt him
there because of his injuries, which is a real shame. And I don't know whether he's ever got or going to get past that. I think again we need someone that we can rely on to be a solid right back. And my only hesitancy about Donasian really is just having not seen him. Not that I have with Harry Clark, but his pedigree is arguably slightly better. So I'm just not sure we'll be able to rely on Donasian to play as consistently as he has over the last 18 months. And I'm only hesitating because it feels, as it comes out of my mouth, feels a slightly cruel thing to say. But
it's a high division for a start.
That's that possibly. I think a right back is a definite possibility.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm actually with you on that one. A right back wouldn't be one of my major priorities for the summer. Certainly a position I would never stop to look.
Exactly, yeah. Those three players don't make me go, oh Christ, no, we need a right back. They're taught by any stretch of the imagination.
No, I agree.
I don't know enough about Vincent Young's fitness or Donasian's where he's at in terms of being able to hold his own in the Championship, and nobody does. I guess so.
No, exactly. You won't know until
he's certainly not done himself any disservice playing at all this season. So I mean him no ill will from that.
No, from my perspective, KVY leaves the football club. Been a good servant over the last couple of years. Injuries have left us where we are with KVY, and we'll never really know because of those injuries what he could have been really. Because when he was at his peak before the injuries, he was a special right back, really good right back, and had that season under Lambert where KVY was a phenomenal player, gone the way we all hoped, the way we all looked it was going. Who knows what he would have been in the Championship, but we're not in that world. That world is long gone. Janoy, I actually had marked out as somebody I don't think can play as well as he has done in the Championship. So I would be looking to move on for a fee, having just tied him to an extension. But then I got to thinking about his versatility and actually how a player like him around the squad helps you, because he can play right back, he can play left back at a pinch, he can play in the centre half positions if you had a major injury or suspension run. Just a jack of all trades, and all of which he can play really well. So
he can almost do a Kia role.
Yeah. And he's a good guy to have around the changing room, the dressing room. But he'd be my RB3. Do you know what I mean? Like my RB3, my LB3, my centre half 5. Just a player that you can play if you have to play at a good 6 or 7 every week. But you're not looking at as a mainstay, or certainly somebody who is going to offer a Leif Davis type return down the left. So, okay, well, I think we're in agreement with those then. Left side, 2 players at the football club, 1 player currently out on loan. Leif Davis, Greg Lee, and Matt Penny. Let's start with Matt Penny out on loan. He comes back from his loan period. Are you keeping him around the football club, or are you moving Matt Penny on?
How's he done this season? I haven't been keeping tabs on Matt Penny. I think I definitely said last summer that something about Matt Penny looks like a footballer to me, but he never quite looked like a left back. He looked like he had something about him, but I didn't see him as a left back. So for me, I wish him well if the opportunity comes up for him to leave. And he's not really made an impact. I don't think we sent him out particularly with the intention of bringing him back in to challenge Lee and Leif, particularly. So I think unless he is our LB3, which he probably is more than capable of being, but I suspect at his age he probably would rather play
25.
Yeah,
I'm with you. Matt Penny goes for me. David says sell Penny. The Fishman says Penny goes. Oozle sent Penny to Hearts. They love him. Sharon misses the JD and Burns handshake when Wiz scores. For me, Matt Penny departs. He arrived as a bit of a project on the free from Wednesday, and it's just no really, for whatever reason, took fire through it. €5 from David. Thanks ever so much, David. Appreciate that. Greg Lee actually becomes my LB3 because I'm also looking to bring in, again, it's not a position where I'm sort of going out in the summer and I'm saying, right, these are my position of needs and I must go and get this, that, and the other. But if a left back under the same sort of mould as Davis comes available, I'm just thinking if Davis goes down injured, opening day of the year, God forbid, 6 months, am I going to get out of Greg Lee what I get out of Leif Davis? The answer is no. I don't get that same type of assists, chance creation, which Leif Davis operate and give us so much last year. So I'm trying to find a left back that can replicate that, step in for Leif and replicate that. And that's not to say Greg Lee's a bad player, because he's not a bad player, he's a good player. But he's a different left back. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that I was going to say he just has slightly different attributes to Davis. But good luck finding another Leif Davis, particularly one who's happy to be back up to Leif Davis.
That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah. That's the thing. Yeah, no, that's easier said than done, and that's why we're football fans and not football scouts. But then that's the type of things you, as a manager, I imagine you'll go to the scouting department, you will say.
Absolutely. I mean, I'd differ slightly. I'd happily have Greg Lee as my backup left back, because I think we're in a position where we've seen that Kieran muddles his tactics about based on the attributes of the players that are there. He won't say, Greg, I need you to go on and be Leif Davis.
No.
Slot into that role that does this exactly, which is what lots of managers will still do and have in the past. But I think it's a little bit more nuanced from Mr. McKenna. So I'd with that in the back of my mind, I think I'd happily have Greg Lee as a backup left back.
Okay, all right. Nice. Moving on to the central defenders, we've got Richard Keogh, George Edmondson, Luke Wolfenden, Burgess, and Darber and Baggett. So we'll start with the 4 that are at the football club: Keogh, Edmondson, Wolf, and Burgess. Am I safe to assume that Wolf and Burgess are going nowhere in your world, George?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Perfect. Richard Keogh.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously expected to transition at some point into a coaching role with the football club, or into a coaching role, if not here, with somewhere else.
Yep.
If he's not ready, if he says, "I'm not ready yet, I've got another year left in me," are you giving him that year here, or are you?
Colchester need a centre back.
Sorry,
I said Colchester need a centre back.
Very true. They do. No, they do. They've released half their squad. Look.
Yeah, if he wants to keep playing, then absolutely wish him well, and he can go and keep playing. He's not going to play for us in the Championship.
Mm-hmm.
I would be very surprised if he played for us in the Championship, but I would be really happy if he stuck around as a coach.
Got to be a position there for him, though, isn't there? That's the thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. If the role is there for him to or stuck around in a position like that he wanted to do, I don't know what else there would be, but yeah, he seems genuinely sort of. I think I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. He seems genuinely passionate about the place and seems to have a really good rapport with the squad. So yeah, I think he's a good certainly a good character to keep around, and I think we talked about it last year about the likelihood that he was coming in with the view to potentially moving into the staff. So if that is the case, they may very well have had their eye on that all season.
Yeah, he may have been part of the deal coming in. We obviously played the year, we transitioned into a coach, whatever. Fridge. Few comments in the chat coming through already in regards to David says, lose Edmondson, keep Keogh for a coach. George, Fridge 100% gone. The Fridge goes for the Fisherman. He's 25. Last 2 seasons have been ended prematurely by injury. Obviously, a big part of that community ethos that Ashton and the club are driving. Mentioned it earlier with Conor Chaplin. I will set us off here. For me, George Edmondson, he goes. He is sold, and I'm using him as part bait for a transfer that I want to do. If you can tell me who you think I want to try and use him as part bait for.
I think you've already told us.
Comment. If you've been paying attention, you'll know, because that's not the first time I mentioned his name today, let alone on the platform. But for me, yeah, George Edmondson, I'd be selling George. No, if he's a good player, but the last 2 injuries, 2 seasons curtailed by injury, not his fault, but he stepped up in the level, and I want that player that I'm not going to mention yet. But what do you do with George?
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? Because he's a good age, and I think with coaching some of the over exuberance out of him, where he tends to get a little carried away and not look up and lose the ball somewhere miles out of position. I would keep him, but at the same time, bearing in mind that we are going to have to at least pretend to balance the books at some point over the next 3 years. It wouldn't surprise me if he is one of the players that we look to sell, and not so much about he's not good enough to play in centre back, but he's a sellable age where we could probably get our money or close to our money back for him. So I think it would. Part of me thinks it would be a shame, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if he's on the cards to be sold.
And Colin, echoing back something I've always said on the platforms, it's the very first day we started. Best ability is always availability, and I firmly believe that your best ability is always availability. You'd be the best player in the world.
He's been very unlucky with injuries, though.
He has, but if you could be Lionel Messi, if you're sat on a treatment table, the world don't see it.
But also, if it's an injury if that's an issue, we're not going to sell. We're not going to be able to sell him. So
there's always a buyer on the market for somebody, particularly when the football club. This is about lazy journalism earlier, and I would never class myself as a journalist, but this is me being lazy in saying, right, so there's a player called Erin Cash, who I absolutely love. He will be a phenomenal player. I've got stats to back it up. If you need me to stat it up, he's already played in the Championship 18 times for Derby. He had more interceptions than both our centre halves last year, more tackles won in a game than our centre halves last year. He's 21. which is, a very young age for a centre half. Such a tremendous potential ahead of him, and that's of course is Aaron Cashin at Derby, and Derby is obviously a club that George has played for before, George Emerson, and I just see it being almost too perfect that you want Aaron Cashin, they want to sort of, excuse the pun, cash in on cash in. You could have softened the blow by sending a bit of money, almost like we did with Webster, with Portsmouth. We buy Webster and we gave them Matt Clark in return. They got a good centre half who they then sold him for big money as well.
Yeah,
he's just a phenomenal player. And that's something I've often banged the drum for all season long, is Aaron Cashin, and he would be coming in as my number one centre half with Luke Wolfenden next year. 2 ball playing defenders, 2 young defenders that can grow together, mature together, and I just see it in my mind's eye, just sitting perfectly, George. These 2 young players growing, developing.
Well, you know it's not going to happen.
No, I know it's not going to happen. And then in 5 years' time, with a Brighton of the Premier League, a sentence I never thought I'd say in my life, but there we go. We've got these ball playing centre halves that have been with the club for the last 5 years. It's just too good, too good. Would you be looking to bring in a centre half to go alongside one of Burgess or Wolfie, or are they your 2 centre halves starting next year?
I wouldn't be disappointed if they were our centre halves starting next year, but I think if we bring in a centre half, you're right, it will be someone with a view to playing, to starting, because as good as Burgess has been, I think. I'm still not. I'm not quite convinced that the Championship is going to be a bridge too far. Maybe it's not, but I think we'll look for a first choice centre back.
Untested, there isn't.
That's my first position that I think that we've talked about. That I think we might very well be looking for a first choice centre back.
Yeah, I know Rich, and he'll mention on Sunday's show, he likes the idea of a Championship experienced defender coming in. I mean, I would say 18 games, Aaron Cashin Championship is a bit of experience, but we'll park that one. But I'm with you. You're looking at Burgess.
He's got some experience in the Championship.
He has. But Burgess is very much untested, isn't he? And he's got so much better though under Kieran McKenna.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, when you asked me about whether it was safe to assume that he was that he would be staying, like, I think if you asked me that, I don't know, 8 months ago, maybe a little bit longer than that, certainly last summer, I would have been much less enthusiastic about it. But yeah, I think he's improved so much this season.
Particularly his ball playing ability. That's the thing that's really
because he is really a classic centre half, isn't he?
This time last year, if I told you he would be able to develop that side of his game, I'd have sort of question marked it and sort of thought perhaps he could, but I'm not sure if he can. But night and day compared to what it was this time last year. Mike the Fishman, Burgess and Wolfie deserve to start. Hey, Mike, every single man that has worn the town shirt this year deserves to start next year. But that's not how football clubs run. Football clubs look to progress and improve and evolve. Otherwise, this would be everyone deserves to start. No one deserves to leave. Case closed situation.
Again, the first thing I said, I wouldn't be disappointed if they did. It's not about deserving at all, and that's
about getting better.
It's way too easy to be sentimental, because I'm always here hesitant about saying anything too negative about anyone ever. But you can't be sentimental, particularly when you're in the club. And I'm 100% certain that Mr. Ashton and Mr. McKenna are not being sentimental in their discussions that they're having.
I think the way you do that, and this is where they probably differ, and obviously I'm not inside what I'm going to call Mark Ashton's war room, where he's got his dashboard and he's got the analytical department, and it's just conversations galore. The way I would do that, or the way I would look to do it if I was the chief executive, is you're not looking at names, you're looking at stats, the numbers. You've got centre half 33, these are his stats, centre half 54, these are his stats, and you're comparing them to the stats that you've got on your own team, because it is very easy as human beings.
If he's 54, he's doing well.
No, as in like in the country, you've got 54 centre halves. this is number 54 on that list, because it's very easy as human beings to look at as the human being behind. Do you know what I mean with that? In the sense of, I don't want to lose Burgess, I don't want to lose Fridge, I don't want to lose this, that, or the other. But you're looking at it, and it's very easy to put the human element into it, when really you've got to take it out and look at just pure stats and what you've got.
Yeah, I mean, the calling it the Moneyball approach is a bit cliched, isn't it? But that's what it is. You feed a player's stats into a computer, and it spits out what their likely stats are going to be next year, the year beyond, etc., etc. And
which is where a player like Jordan Dynastian, sorry, cut across you there, George, back to him, is brilliant, because you can go and get a really good player X for whatever position and get the same type of return out of Janoi to cover 2 or 3 different, and that's that Moneyball approach. That's that. Don't go and get you one hitter,
that machine,
3.
That machine, and where I hesitated a little bit with Janoi as well is that machine will be taking age into account in a pretty big way, particularly for somebody that plays fullback, and particularly for a fullback in the Championship. And that's where your curve. Whereas in League One, 100% agree. Yeah. But in the Championship, that's going to flatten out slightly, I suspect.
Which is where, and reverse of that is Jordan Emerson, 25, starting to enter sort of the peak years, traditional peak years of your career. That could work in his favour. You're looking at it as a stat base. He's going to start entering the peak.
Yep.
Is and that why you?
Cashin's another one that will have probably a sharp trajectory at the moment in terms of their potential, his potential. But you're right. They have to look at it from a very cold perspective, really. But at the same time, obviously, character comes into it too, which is important. But and that's something that comes from talking to the club, I guess, in the first instance, the selling club in the first instance, and then the player in the second. So I kind of like that. It's sort of Moneyball plus almost. It's that kind of we'll pick you based on your footballing ability, your potential as a footballer, but also you need to pass this test. We're not just going to assume that because your stats are right, you're going to slot into the team and make the team better. You need to be the right character to be in this team and part of this squad. And we've obviously done a remarkable job with that in the last 18 months based on who we have at the moment. So it's not quite as straightforward as just being numeric.
And I have mentioned this to various people at the football club, I think, including when I had the chance to talk to Mark Ashton himself. But I would love just a documentary, Town TV. You want to start content on that, of the War Room. And I called it the War Room. The War Room. I want to see the conversations around the table. I want to see they have to show me the dashboard in the sense of who's on it, what's on it. Just the projector style on the wall where there's the little horseshoe. You've got McKenna, you've got Pert, you've got Ashton, you've got the whole team, and they're just firing these types of conversations at each other. And just to see the process, lift the lid a little bit. You can redact people's names, etc. Just to lift the lid on the process of what goes.
And we all love to see that, and that is the absolute last thing that they're ever going to show us.
I know. And
absolutely rightly.
But they do it in American football all the time. And they normally highlight the people they've signed. So you might see the conversation that leads them to draft in the right tackle.
Posthumously show you the kind of conversations that go on pre-draft.
Fans, you would literally eat that alive. That is content. If you're listening again.
But the draft is so different though, because everybody is ranked. Everybody that's available.
Everyone's ranked in football these days. I've just found the sofa scores. That's for George Edmondson.
You know that they're all available, and I think part of one of the key differences with football transfers is that there is no. There is obviously a transfer list, but that doesn't mean that people that you want aren't available at the right price or in the right circumstances. And I think that's the massive difference. Is that Ashton, I think, has that kind of, or whoever it is in combination with Ashton, has that ability to kind of just give it the old. Don't suppose Leif Davis is available, is he?
You're not going to see that. But you are going to see them discussing Leif Davis around the table, what this left back brings, what he could do, what his stats suggest.
They don't want you to see the things.
But that's not a secret in football anymore, though, George, is it? Me telling you I have this left back who I'm not going to say the name of, or if I am, you're going to beep it. His stats suggest in 3 years he's going to have this, 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 and this. Like, as fans, you'd love to know the background information on what they're saying about it. You know, what they're looking for, what they're.
Of course, you would. But they'd have to be. I mean, it depends how much of it is like formulaic and how much of it is something that they've come up with. Because yes,
by the back of the office.
Yes, everybody knows that everybody uses stats and loves the Moneyball approach. But it's not like there is just one singular supercomputer that spits it all out that you can buy for £2 million and suddenly you're Brentford. Like, that's not how it works.
Oh no, that is very true. Do you think they look? Do you think like they get brochures of left backs? Can you imagine like Mal Cashin just sitting there?
Like the Argos catalogue.
I want that one. That one looks great. Get me that one. Right, we've got a couple of comments coming in. George Cargett, Phil Jones in, very experienced player, and they came from the time at United. Quick thoughts on that one, George, before we move on. Phil Jones, yes or no? Would you? In his early 30s, which isn't old, George, as we know.
No. I mean, yeah. I don't know.
All right. A player that we did chase was going to sign at one point, then didn't
I'm
sign.
not excited by Phil Jones. Let's put it that way.
I don't think many people are.
If we need a backup left back, I think Creswell's contract.
Now, Cressy. Now, see that? You're funny. You mentioned that, but that is a player who could replicate a Leif Davis style of play without sounding like the Man United fan Andy Tate, on a fairly free transfer, probably big wages, but yeah, but it's Cressy. It's crazy. Sonny Bradley nearly came out of contract. Well, leaving Luton. Yes or no, George? Would you reignite that chase?
That's a good shout. No.
Okay, I like it. Mike Fishman, we have momentum with this team. Yeah, we do. We do have momentum. George, imagine a defender like Phil Jones and Richard Keogh, though. Oh, good Lord. That's a back two that Paul Lambert's asthmatics now would be getting past. Jamie Legg, Edmondson, Janoi, Evans, Keogh, and Darby, Kerry White, Harper, all Division, and he goes on, all Division 1 players for Jamie. Thank you very much, Jamie. Appreciate that. And he's expecting the unexpected. All the goalkeeper from New Zealand, big talented world out there. Yeah, but with that signing, I would just sort of put a little asterisk there and say, do you remember the centre forward Falami? No, not even Falami. Centre forward last year. Teti Yankee?
Yeah, but he's still a prospect, though, isn't he?
When does a player stop becoming a prospect? Just a general question.
I don't know. What I mean by that is I got the impression that he was a bit like Baggett. He is just being given experience.
Could well be. I don't know nothing about him. I know as much about him now as Paul Cook sounded like he knew about him when we signed him.
I'm pretty sure he did well and was popular when he went abroad. I know he's come back.
Where did he go?
Gone off again. He was in Scandinavia somewhere else. Wasn't he?
Nice. You've been there in Scandinavia?
Have I been there?
Yeah. We're deviating around the block.
Sweden's very lovely. Yeah, I can recommend it. Yeah.
Well, big Eurovision fan. I might be going next year. I'm not. Facebook user. I am a Eurovision fan. I'm just not going to Sweden. There's no stat for how you form cohesion and character, and that's one of the main aspects of our promotion. Question: name the brothers, both defenders, one playing for Ipswich, the other at NCFC. It's a good question. We'll put it out there.
Well, I didn't see who it was.
I don't know. Let us know in the chat who it is. Right. 2 players out on loan. Elkan Bagger, Corey and Darber. What are you doing with them, George? I'll just set the scene for you. I'm selling or loaning Corey and Darber back out, and I'm keeping Elkan Bagger around the football squad.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'd be tempted to be more committal on loaning and Darber. I'm
not sure the market on him. I mean, if there's a market to buy him, I'd sell him for, again, that nominal fee if needs be. It's a shame it's not this summer, because after that great year at Salford, you might have had a little bit more of an interesting market in him. But he struggled this year through various different, injury, at one point. But yeah, okay, I'd sell in Darber and keep Elkan around the football squad.
Yeah, I'd definitely keep Baggett. 100%.
Agreed on that. Right. Okay. That's the defenders. Let's go to the loan players. Next week, we'll do midfielders and strikers. We've done 49 minutes on the defenders and goalkeepers, and I thought that was the easy part of the 4-part special. We might need a whole afternoon on the midfielders, just as central midfielders alone. Funny enough, on the ITFC website, just you might not know this, and I don't know if it's an oversight. I mean, there's several oversights on this website, like players' ages for a start. But Dominic Ball is listed as a defender, which I just found very.
So he is
strange. I didn't include him, although it would make my life easier with the centre midfield players next week. But because I've he can play there, but he's not a defender playing in midfield, is he? He's a midfielder playing in defence. So
yeah, he's a defensive midfielder. I don't think we should take too much.
No, I didn't
from the Ipswich Town website.
No. Well, no, because some players would be 400,000 years old based on their date of births. Right, the loan players. We'll start with the players at the football squad. Massimo Luongo, are you giving him a new deal? Yes or no?
Yes.
He's not a loan player, my mistake, but the short-term deal, you know what I mean. Would you be looking to give him a new deal?
Yeah.
You would. Okay, I'm going to put that down here. And then next week, I'm going to ask you if he's your starting midfield player, or if you're bringing somebody in or somebody in the squad already that's going to be ahead of him. After saying I wouldn't, I would actually, probably give him a new deal myself, another 1 year. Because I think he's deserved it. I think you have to show rewards in football.
There's that sentimentality again.
I would have said the same. But then I also think you've got to show players, prospective new players.
Yeah.
And, let's not be too big for our boots. There are going to be a couple of players that are of a certain age, maybe out of contract. You have to show that you reward good performance and you reward fine form. And he's a player, I think, that sort of embodies that, really. He's come in, because it'd be very easy to say, right, you've come in, played brilliantly, done us a job, but now we're going to go Jack Taylor 3 million, or, MatchBingo for 5 million, because we can do it and we're in a better league. But I think you to the dance.
They've been exceptional together, and that's the reason that I would. And spoilers for next week. I think if we don't, I would 100% be looking to bring someone else in to play central midfield.
Yeah, me too. His name's Jack Taylor. Right. Class. George Hurst. It's going to be a very easy one, this one. George Hurst, would you or wouldn't you be looking to buy George Hurst?
Yeah. I can imagine that Ashton is sat at his desk just desperately waiting for Leicester to make their minds up as to whether they want to get relegated or not. And then he's going to start. He'll know what his position is in terms of where his strengths are in the negotiation, and he'll go from there.
See, knowing what I know about MA, I just wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of informal...
Unless we had something already arranged.
Situation. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think anything's been announced as like there's a buy-in clause upon promotion or whatever. But he's just a very shrewd operator, as Mark Ashton.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'd be surprised if there wasn't a informal agreement, be it if we're promoted and your survival is secure, we can buy the player at this, or the negotiations start at this, or it just something wasn't known before the player arrived, where you'd sort of know.
I imagine it was about our promotion, though. Would Leicester have really entertained the if you're still in the Premier League 6 months ago?
But it could very well be a negotiations will start at $1 million, $1.5 million in the summer, and so you both know a ballpark feeling out process.
The short without being in the war room, you're not going to get in the war room.
War room. I'll keep asking. I think it's who you know.
Yeah,
and I know fucking nobody.
I'd be very surprised if we don't try and sign George Hurst.
I mean, if they're listening, I don't mind just sitting in the corner of the room, making the coffee in the war room, just making little notes. I haven't got a live broadcast there or anything. Just leave the door open a little bit on the latch at, Playford Road gates, and I'll just sort of slip in, maybe, sit at the back, be quiet, until my stick crashes to the floor like it does everywhere I go, and then Room those on there. Right. There's a lone player not at the football club. We've done Matt Penny already. We've done Corey Darber already. Let's look into Idris El Mizani. Had a great, fantastic season at Leyton Orient. Buy, sell, retain. What are you doing with Idris?
I think he's another one that and I think that I'm not saying anything that hasn't been said a million times already over the last few weeks, but I think he's one that will cash in on. I think he's that age. I don't think he's going to force his way into. I'd be surprised if he forces his way into the team. I think it sounds like there's a considerable amount of interest in him, so cash in on him.
Okay, that makes my life easier next week when I go to some midfield players. I can already say Idris, you're cashing in on. Luongo, you're signing to a new deal. Okay, Raheem, the Dream, Harper. I think the dream's finally over, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for Raheem to leave, I guess.
Yeah, I think so.
I get more stick for that sign than Mark Ashton does, and he paid nearly £1 million for him. Do you know what I mean? Like, people talk to me about Raheem, like I signed him.
Yeah.
Like I was the estate agent that sold the football club to Monorail in The Simpsons. Like, I loved the player. I thought he'd be really special. I probably thought the same thing as Mark Ashton thought. Thought he'd be really special. It just hasn't worked out at the football club, has it?
And that happens, doesn't it? So
yeah,
we wish him well. I think he'll be a good signing for someone. At some point he'll come good. But again, I don't see how he forces his way into the team, and it's not like he's set the world alight on loan. So yeah.
And I think on Idris, just go back a point, because I see George put Watford being interested in Idris El Mizani. I think it's a numbers game. I think that'll come up again a lot next week in the central midfield area. It's a numbers game, and he's returning to a really crowded room of central midfield players.
Yeah,
I can't see him getting past. And he's at the age now where he proved it last year. He's got to play. And I'm sure his agent, I'm sure the player himself, and I'm sure the market value of the player having had a great year last year dictate that you either come in and you're taking the.
Yeah. As much as I still think he could be a really good player, I think it's another one of those that it makes sense for him to move on.
I think, and we'll mention it probably more in detail next week. I just think you for me it's a Massimo Luongo or an Idris El Mizani thing. You can't have both, because Massimo is at the age where he can be a number 2, number 3, but then you want that position to be Idris's, where he's looking to make a mark as a number 2 and step into a team on an injury or a suspension and get her on a form going. You can't have Idris as number 4 or 5 in the pecking order at his age. So it's kind of a who do you want? That's how I see it a little bit. I don't know if you see it the same way.
Yeah, I think so. I think from Idris's point of view, I think it's just. I think he'll just want to play. I suspect he's just desperate to play and progress through a team, and I don't think he's going to get high enough into unless there's a massive clear out in central midfield for us.
And it will be next week when I do it, mate.
And it's a complete reshuffle, and he comes in and is a number 2, then maybe, but I don't see that at the moment.
All right. I'll save the links to the last 2 to next week. Hadme and Tyrese John Jordan. We've done 58 minutes already, so I'll save those 2 for next week. But there you go. Bit of squad planning underway. Like I say, on Sunday show, the Hard Truth will give us their verdict on what we have delivered from our scouting hive mind this evening. They'll have a couple of their own transfer suggestions if they think we should bring in a goalkeeper or a defender or wherever. But yeah, if it's not Aaron Cash, I'll be bitterly disappointed in both them and the football club. But yeah, been a fantastic 60 minutes. Fishman says, good debate, lads. Appreciate that, Mike. So as I say, Sunday, 7:45 in the evening, our summer schedule. The next week, Wednesday, I want to say 8 p.m, if that's okay with you, George.
Should be fine, mate. Yeah.
Me and George back once again, midfielders and strikers. But until then, thank you for watching. Here's the designer. This is Talking Town. Hit the like, subscribe, and we'll catch you on Sunday at 7:45. And get your comments in. Let us know what you think of our defenders, our attacker, goalkeepers, who stays, who went, and if you agree or disagree. We'll catch you later.